Sherdog.com's live coverage of UFC 216 Ferguson vs. Lee kicks off at 6:30 p.m. ET live from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Check out the MMA forums to discuss the card or enter your comments and predictions below. Tavares flashes his jab early, while Lates works the American's lead leg with several kicks in the opening minute. Tavares answers with his own low kick, then blocks a right high kick with a glove. Lates slips a punch and pops Tavares with a counter. Right now it's Tavares getting active with low kicks in the second minute. Tavares scores with another jab, clinches, slides backward and stuns Lates with a left hand that the Brazilian doesn't see coming. Tavares tries to follow up, but Lates latches onto a single leg and uses it to run Tavares against the fence. Lates switches to a body lock and buries his head under Tavares' chin, slowly working for a takedown. Referee Chris Tignani separates the fighters with about 90 seconds on the clock. Tavares inches forward, flicks out a jab, but Lates dives underneath it and pushes him back to the fence. Lates works for a trip takedown in the last half minute, but there is not enough action for referee Tignani, who splits the fighters again. Tavares finds some powerful offense in the closing moments, clipping Lates with the right hand over the top, followed by a flying knee. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109 Tavares. Brian Knapp scores the round 109 Tavares. Chris Nelson scores the round 109 Tavares. Round 2 Tavares goes back to work on Lates' lead leg with hard kicks, in between snapping back the Brazilian's head with stiff jabs. Lates is marked up less than a minute into the round, blood leaking from his reddened nose and right cheek, and his punches are missing as Tavares slips in and out of the pocket. Lates' best weapon at this point are his leg kicks, but Tavares appear to be landing even harder. Lates shoots and nearly completes a takedown. Tavares springs up and uses over-unders to reverse Lates against the fence. Lates tries to pull guard, but Tavares wants the jiu-jitsu specialist back on his feet. A heavy low kick from Tavares spins Lates around, and Tavares counters Lates' next leg kick with a straight right upstairs. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109 Tavares. Brian Knapp scores the round 109 Tavares. Chris Nelson scores the round 109 Tavares. Round 3 Lates comes out swinging but soon winds up back on the fence, trying to trip Tavares to the canvas with a body lock. Referee Tignani tells the middleweights to stay busy in the clinch. Tavares reverses to the outside, then backs away and forces Tavares to come forward. Tavares walks into a pair of heavy right hands from Tavares before the 185ers exchange leg kicks. Lates continues to press forward, but his left leg looks ready to give way and Tavares keeps landing hard right hands. One nasty low kick does put Lates on the ground. Tavares wants him back on his feet. Halfway through the final frame, Tavares chops Lates to the floor again. Lates gets up and shoots immediately for a double, switches to a single as he backs Tavares up against the wall. Tavares turns him around and holds Lates on the cage until referee Tignani breaks him up. Lates dives on a takedown from a mile out, gets stuffed to the ground and punched in the face by Tavares, who stands over his wounded opponent, kicking at his legs. Tavares lands a few final punches. Just before time expires, Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109 Tavares. 3027 Tavares. Brian Knapp scores the round 109 Tavares. 3027 Tavares. Chris Nelson scores the round 109 Tavares. 3027 Tavares. The official result: Brad Tavares' death. Thales Lates via unanimous decision. 3026, 3026, 3027 R3 500. Moraga opens with a few low kicks before Bibulatov grabs hold of one and trips Chicano John to the mat. Moraga rolls through and back to his feet, where he circles the edge of the cage while Bibulatov follows from the center. Moraga comes over the top with a right hand over the top that grazes Bibulatov, then absolutely obliterates the Russian with a hellacious left hook. Bibulatov falls to the ground on his back, and referee Jason Herzog rushes in to stop the fight as Moraga jumps atop his fallen opponent with more punches. John Moraga def. Magomed Bibulatov via punch R1 138. Schnell splits the guard of Beltran with his first right straight, but Beltran fires back with a body kick into hard left hand. After a lengthy feeling out process, Schnell counters a Beltran leg kick with a three-piece combination up the middle. Beltran lands a front kick to the chin as he's backing up, but Schnell comes back with 5 or 6 punches in quick succession. Schnell's combinations continue to find their mark down the stretch, with an uppercut left hook getting Beltran's attention. Schnell catches a kick, tries a trip takedown, then releases to hit Beltran with a left hook on the split. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Chanel Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Chanel Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Chanel round 2. Chanel fires a right hand down the middle, takes a low kick in return from Beltran, who circles back the center of the cage. A jab and side leg kick combination works for Chanel, while Beltran continues to have difficulty closing the distance on the smaller, quicker man. Beltran goes upstairs with a left high kick, but Chanel seems unfazed by the glancing blow. The slow-paced fight continues through the middle part of the round, with neither man committing to any extended offensive attacks. Chanel finds a left-handed counter to a Beltran attack in the closing seconds, then avoids Beltran's late attempts at head kicks. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Chanel Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Chanel Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Chanel round 3. Chanel gets hold of a kick early in the final round and hustles Beltran against the fence with double underhooks. Beltran defends and stays upright, but when he presses forward to throw the low kick again, Chanel counters him with a right hand over the top. An inside leg kick from Chanel strays to the cup, but Beltran is recovered and ready to resume after a few seconds. Beltran starts to up his offensive output at the midway point of the round, now waving Chanel forward to engage. The increase in pace doesn't last for long, and now Chanel is using better head movement to dodge Beltran's sporadic punches and kicks. Beltran tries a last-ditch takedown, gets caught in a guillotine choke, but time expires soon after the flyweights hit the mat. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Chanel 3027. Chanel Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Beltran 2928. Chanel Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Chanel 3027. Chanel. The official result: match Chanel def. Marco Beltran via unanimous decision. 3027, 3027, 2928 R3 500. The strawweights exchange leg kicks early, with Gonzalez appearing to land the harder shots. It's Gonzalez who shoots inside and brings the fight to the fence, working on a high single leg while driving knees into the legs of Botello. The UFC newcomer lands a few sharp elbows to the side of Gonzalez's head while fending off the takedown with her back against the cage. Gonzalez stays leaning over, still digging for the takedown, and consequently absorbs a dozen more elbows on the ear. Gonzalez finally abandons the single and tries to hug Botello against the fence, but referee Jason Herzog spots Gonzalez grabbing the fence and restarts the fighters in the center. Botello gets run against the wall again, but this time grabs double underhooks and spins Gonzalez around. The 115ers trade positions in the clinch a few times, neither woman gaining an advantage. Gonzalez drops levels to try the takedown again, but Botello is waiting with more elbows for the side of Gonzalez's head. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Botello Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Gonzalez Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Botello round 2. Gonzalez dives for a takedown from way out, but Botello easily backpedals to the fence and stays vertical. Gonzalez is just clinging to a single leg again, while Botello finds ways to land elbows and underarm punches. Gonzalez switches to a double leg, back to a single, still can't find any success with her takedowns. Botello keeps the elbows and punches coming, forcing Gonzalez to come off the legs, and now allowing the Brazilian to get over-unders. Botello lands some solid knees to the body of Gonzalez in the clinch, now more elbows, more punches. Gonzalez looks desperate for the takedown as she tries to rip Botello's legs out from under her, without success. Referee Herzog separates the fighters with 90 seconds on the clock. Gonzalez looks exhausted, grabbing for Botello's legs from way out. Botello swings a big right hook, but Gonzalez goes underneath and clinches her against the cage. Nonetheless, it's Botello who finishes strong with knees and short right hands in the tie-up. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Botello Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Botello Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Botello round 3. Gonzalez lands 5 or 6 inside leg kicks in the first 30 seconds of the round, then grabs hold of a Botello kick and tries to run the Brazilian against the cage. Botello slugs Gonzalez with a nice right hand as she hops backward, but Gonzalez eats it and drops to try for a takedown yet again. Botello goes straight back to her elbows as she works with her back against the wall. It's slow going in the clinch as the strawweights hit the final half round. Botello is still doing the best work with her strikes despite being held against the wall. Gonzalez just keeps digging for a takedown which does not appear to be coming. Referee Herzog restarts the fighters with 80 seconds on the clock, but Gonzalez quickly grabs hold of Botello and puts her back on the fence. Botello lands a few hard knees to the midsection, now some heavier elbows and punches under Gonzalez's arm. Gonzalez refuses to let go of Botello's legs until the referee splits up the fighters again. Gonzalez hugs Botello against the cage one last time, and now it's Botello who scores a takedown just before the final horn. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Botello 3027. Botello. Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Botello 2928. Botello. Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Botello 3027. Botello. The official result: Poliana Botello def. Pearl Gonzalez via unanimous decision. 3027, 3027, 3027 R3 500. Green sticks a jab with his first punch of the fight, then denies Vannata's early attempt to tie up. Vannata gets inside behind a right hand, but Green pushes him away again. Green scores with a left hook and in exchange gets a body shot in return, and now it's Green looking for the clinch on the fence. Vannata breaks out of the clinch and nearly lands a head kick. Seconds later, a body shot stings Green, and Vannata puts the hurt on him with the right hand behind the ear. Green looks finished as Vannata pounds on him, but referee Herb Dean is in a poor position to see Green's condition. Green comes to and gets to his knees, and Vannata drills his still-downed opponent with a knee to the face. Referee Dean calls the doctor into the cage to check on Green, who says he's good to continue. Vannata is docked 1 point for the foul. The fight resumes with a takedown from Green, who gets snared in a guillotine as he drives Vannata to the canvas. Vannata keeps hold of the choke as the lightweights stand back up and fight to the fence. Green pulls his head free with 145 on the clock, changes levels and looks to take down Vannata again. Groovy Lando limp legs away, ties up with Green briefly and nearly catches him with the same right-hand elbow that dropped King earlier in the round. Green takes a couple hard kicks to his lead leg, feeds Vannata a stiff jab in return. Vannata ducks under a punch and takes Green to the ground just before time runs out. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 99. Brian Knapp scores the round 98. Vannata. Chris Nelson scores the round 98. Vannata. Round 2. Vannata goes straight after Green with low kicks and right hands, backing up the former king of the cage champion to the fence. Green pushes back with some oblique kicks and punches of his own, but neither man is landing anything of real significance so far in the second. Vannata is sporting a cut on the bridge of his nose and right cheek, thanks to Green's stiff jabs. Halfway through the round, Green puts Vannata's back against the wall and holds him in place with an underhook. Vannata reverses and hurls Green to the ground, but the lightweights spring back to their feet within seconds. Vannata secures another takedown after a wild scramble, but again can't keep Green on the floor. Green holds Vannata in the clinch on the fence, but as Vannata is released, he staggers Green with a big right hand. Green looks wobbly, backpedaling as Vannata attacks with more heavy punches. Vannata drops his hands, allowing Green to jab him in the face, and now the chance to finish seems to have passed, as Green has regained his wits. Vannata continues to abuse Green's left leg with kicks in the final 30 seconds, but Green is still scoring with hard jabs. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Green. Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Vannata. Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Vannata. Round 3. Green's jab continues to be the most effective weapon of the fight through the first minute of the final round, though Vannata's volume offense is keeping King on his back foot. The lightweights tie up, Green taking the outside position, kneeing Vannata in the breadbasket until the Jackson Wink MMA product is able to escape. Another clinch ends with a short right hand from Green to the already bloody face of Vannata. Green's boxing is winning him the third round here, while Vannata's flashier striking has become less effective as the fight has gone on. Vannata secures a late takedown but can't keep Green on the ground. An uppercut from Vannata gets the attention of Green in the last 30 seconds, prompting another clinch on the fence. Both men are still swinging in the final 10 seconds, and Green seems close to knocking out Vannata just before the final horn. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Vannata 2828. Draw. Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Green 2827. Vannata. Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Green 2827. Vannata. The official result: Lando Vannata vs. Bobby Green is a split draw. 2828, 2927, 2729 R3 500. Decanoy switches between orthodox and southpaw stances as he presses forward on Stammen from the center of the cage. The French prospect lands a body kick, a jab, but he can't defend Stammen's first takedown attempt of the bout. Decanoy springs right back to his feet, hitting Stammen with an elbow on his way back up. Another body kick lands for Duquesnoy, and this time he's able to shove Stammen away when the Michigan top team fighter grabs for a takedown. Duquesnoy scores with a chopping leg kick, another hard kick to the body, then gets out of the way of Stammen's overhand right. Duquesnoy comes over the top with a right of his own, follow with a knee to the body and then sprawls all over Stammen's next shot. Duquesnoy blasts Stammen with a straight left, but now Stammen drives on a shot and puts Duquesnoy on his back near the center of the cage with just under 2 minutes left. Duquesnoy elevates with butterfly hooks and slams Stammen's body with some left hands on the way back to their feet. Referee Chris Tignani calls time as Stammen takes a finger to his left eye in an exchange. Action resumes with 68 seconds on the clock, and Duquesnoy sticks Stammen with another sharp left hand. Stammen eats the left yet again, tries to grab hold of Duquesnoy but can't. Stammen looks to chase down Duquesnoy with wild punches, but Fire Kid evades and slugs back with a hard counter. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109 Duquesnoy. Brian Knapp scores the round 109 Duquesnoy. Chris Nelson scores the round 109 Duquesnoy. Round 2 Duquesnoy catches Stammen leaning in and hits him with a left high kick to the face. Stammen shakes his head as he circles away, and Duquesnoy walks after him in the southpaw stance. Switching to orthodox, Duquesnoy keeps Stammen contained on the outside, constantly cutting off the American's angles. Twice, Duquesnoy hits Stammen with a slashing lead elbow, followed now by a straight right hand and a shot to the body. Stammen changes levels behind a jab and drives Duquesnoy to the floor with a fast double leg, now midway through the round. Duquesnoy kicks Stammen away and scrambles back to his feet with just under 2 minutes remaining. Duquesnoy gets a little too aggressive and upright in his forward motion, allowing Stammen to change levels and complete another takedown. Stammen isn't able to do much with top position, but does keep Duquesnoy on his back until the end of the round. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109 Stammen. Brian Knapp scores the round 109 Stammen. Chris Nelson scores the round 109 Stammen. Round 3 Stammen looks to be the fresher fighter as the final round begins, bouncing on his toes in his corner while Duquesnoy breathes heavily. Duquesnoy gets through with a left high kick to the head of Stammen, who isn't able to grab hold of the leg before the Frenchman pulls it back. Both bantamweights are fighting much more cautiously in this final round. Duquesnoy goes to the body with a left kick and again pulls back before Stammen can latch on for another takedown. Now it's Stammen scoring with a body kick, sticking a jab in the face of Duquesnoy. Fire Kid makes Stammen miss with a charging combination, swinging wildly with 3 or 4 punches. Duquesnoy sticks a jab that leaves Stammen pawing at his nose as they enter the final 2 minutes. Stammen snaps back the head of Duquesnoy with a jab of his own, now tacks on a knee to the body. Stammen gets Duquesnoy backing up with an inside leg kick right hook combo. Duquesnoy scores a takedown in the final seconds but can't do anything with the position. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109 Stammen 2,928 Stammen. Brian Knapp scores the round 109 Stammen 2,928 Stammen. Chris Nelson scores the round 109 Stammen 2,928 Stammen. The official result: Cody Stammen def. Tom Duquesnoy via unanimous decision 3027, 2928, 2829 R3 500. Dariush takes the center of the cage to start the fight while his fellow southpaw Dunham circles counterclockwise around the perimeter. Both men land glancing left hands in an early exchange, then Dunham tries to latch onto a leg kick but can't wrangle Dariush to the ground. Dariush catches Dunham stepping forward and picks off the Las Vegas resident with a looping left hand. A standing elbow drops Dunham to his knees, and Dariush pounces all over his wounded opponent. Dunham rolls to his back and Dariush postures up over him, blasting the veteran with more elbows, now left hands that have Dunham covering up. Dariush's attack subsides as he settles in Dunham's half guard with 2 minutes on the clock. With Dunham on one knee, struggling to stand, Dariush drives a nasty knee to his opponent's chest. Dunham grabs for a heel hook from the bottom, but Dariush extracts his leg and stands over him. Dunham gets deep half guard but Dariush roughs him up with more elbows, now some heavy left hands. Dunham gets to his knees, now back to his feet with 25 seconds on the clock, and the round expires without any further offense of note. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 108 Dariush. Brian Knapp scores the round 108 Dariush. Chris Nelson scores the round 108 Dariush. Round 2 Dariush lands a few early leg kicks, now a knee to the body, but before he can get out of the pocket, Dunham reps up a bodylock and trips the King's MMA fighter to the ground. Dariush uses an omoplata from the bottom to slow Dunham's work on top, and now Dunham is forced to stand to withdraw his arm. The lightweights come back to their feet, Dunham now pressing Dariush against the fence. Dariush breaks free with half the round left to fight and goes after Dunham with a pair of punches, another leg kick. The next leg kick catches Dunham leaning forward and nearly knocks him to the floor, but Dunham keeps his balance and continues circling the outside. Now it's Dariush's turn to hug Dunham against the fence, landing a knee to the body on the break after a few seconds in the clinch. Dariush keeps chopping away at Dunham's lead leg, prompting Dunham to run him back against the wall as the round ends. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Dunham Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Dunham Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Dunham round 3. Dunham tries to catch a leg kick for an early takedown, but can't keep hold of Dariush, though he does hit the Rafael Cordero pupil with the right hand on the break. Dariush looks tired, breathing heavily as Dunham begins to tag him with jabs and combinations. Now it's Dunham clinching up again, trapping Dariush on the wall with an underhook and feeding him short right hands. Dariush breaks out midway through the round and gets busier with his striking, marking up Dunham's face with punches before going back to work on his lead leg with kicks. Dunham drives him against the fence again, this time landing a hard knee to the midsection. The striking is getting increasingly sloppy here in the final 90 seconds, with both men swinging for the fences and neither coming up with anything particularly clean. Dunham calls for Dariush to engage, then catches a knee and attacks with punches just before the horn. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Dunham 2,828 draw. Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Dariush 2,927. Dariush Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Dunham 2,828 draw. The official result: Benil Dariush vs. Evan Dunham is a majority draw. 2,928, 2,828, 2,828 R3 500. Borella grabs hold of Faria and trips her to the ground in the opening 30 seconds, landing right near the base of the fence. Faria tries to hold on to a deep half guard as Borella looks to advance while peppering the Brazilian with short right hands. Faria kicks off the wall but only gets herself in deeper trouble, as Borella steps over to full mount almost simultaneously. Borella has more than 330 left on the clock as she hooks her legs underneath Faria's to keep the Brazilian in place. Faria rolls to her side, nearly giving up her back, and now she rolls to her knees, allowing Borella to secure back mount with both hooks in. Borella immediately goes to work on a rear naked choke, sinks it underneath Faria's chin and forces a quick tap. Mara Romero Borella def. Kalindra Faria via submission rear naked choke R1 254. Werdum misses with a high kick, then changes levels and grabs hold of a single leg. The former champion drags Harris to the ground after a brief struggle, then steps over to full mount. Harris rolls to his knees, giving up his back, and Werdum attaches himself immediately. Vicavallo peels off the back for a quick armbar, and Harris is tapping within seconds. Fabricio Werdum picks up his first submission win in more than 2 years over last-second replacement Walt Harris, who filled in for the injured Derek Lewis. Fabricio Werdum def. Walt Harris via submission armbar R1 105. Referee Dan Miragliota is the third man in the cage for tonight's 125-pound title fight, with judges Sal D'Amato, Dave Hagen and Jeff Mullen scoring at cage side. Johnson opens with a pair of inside leg kicks, checked by Borg, who works from the center of the cage. The champion continues to kick at Borg's lead leg, always staying out of the challenger's punching range. Mighty Mouse goes to the body of Borg with a kick. When he does it again, Borg tries to catch the leg, gets twisted up and has a seat near the fence. Borg does well to prevent Johnson from taking his back, but when he gets up and shoots again, the Jackson Wink MMA fighter winds up on his knees with Johnson sitting on his back. Borg jumps back to his feet, still holding on to Johnson's leg. Johnson spins deftly to take Borg's back, and Borg winds up on his knees with Johnson in riding position, landing right hands. Borg puts his back to the canvas, leaving Johnson in half guard. Johnson slams Borg with a heavy elbow to the jaw, now leans right to left across the challenger's body, setting up a potential arm lock. Borg tries a guillotine from the bottom, but now Johnson passes to side control. Borg tries to explode out but remains on the bottom until the end of the round. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Johnson Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Johnson Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Johnson round 2. Borg fakes a flying knee to close the distance, then drops levels and tries to work a double leg as Johnson is backed up to the fence. Johnson denies the shot and spins Borg around in the clinch, now pinning Borg to the cage with an underhook. Borg looks for a guillotine, but Johnson is wise to it and peels away the challenger's hands. Borg drops to his knees again, and this time he succeeds in taking down the champion. Mighty Mouse gets back up, gets taken down again, gets up again and has Borg jump on his back. Johnson quickly undoes Borg's hooks, dropping Borg to the floor and allowing Johnson to spin around and come down in top position. Johnson looks to advance past Borg's half guard, now passes to side control and drops a flurry of punches as he has Borg trapped in a brief crucifix. Borg rolls to his knees, still trapped against the fence, and Johnson gives him several sharp knees to the body as they stand. Johnson gets another takedown, this time straight to side control, and again he traps Borg's right arm between his legs. Borg gets to his knees again but is trapped in a headlock. Now Johnson spins from north-south to riding position. Borg takes a seat up against the fence, protecting his back but leaving his face open to Johnson's shoulder strikes and short punches. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Johnson. Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Johnson. Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Johnson. Round 3. Borg catches a kick and looks to convert it to a takedown, but Johnson keeps his balance on one leg and puts his back against the fence. Johnson sits down on the single leg again, leaving Borg on his knees, clinging to a foot. Now it's Johnson in north-south position, framing up a choke, and Borg drops to guard and defense. Johnson leans left to right across Borg inside control, landing short left hands to Borg's face, now switching to elbows. Borg reclaims half guard, so Johnson switches to driving short, sharp knees into the challenger's ribs. Johnson stands up to adjust his position, but Borg wisely recovers full guard. With 2 minutes on the clock, Johnson moves back to side control, leaning across to work on Borg's left arm. Johnson gets full mount again, now back mount as Borg rolls onto his stomach. The flyweights are seated up against the fence with 1 minute left in the round. Borg is defending well as Johnson tries to soften him up with punches, hunting for a choke from the back. Borg explodes out of the bed position and tries to snare Johnson in a headlock, but Johnson pops his head free and the fighters scramble back to their feet. Borg looks for the guillotine as he is taken down again just before the end of the round. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109. Johnson. Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Johnson. Chris Nelson scores the round 109. Johnson. Round 4. Borg dives in behind a right hand, lifts and slams Johnson to the ground with a double leg. Johnson is back on his feet within 20 seconds, leaving Borg clinging to a leg once again. Johnson forces Borg onto his back and now sets up in the challenger's half guard once again. Johnson moves to side control, but Borg explodes to his feet, and Mighty Mouse follows, giving Borg a sharp knee to the breadbasket along the way. 2 minutes remain in the first championship round, and Johnson has Borg pinned to a cage post with an underhook. A trip takedown plants Borg on his back once again, with Johnson in side control, looking to mount. Johnson tries an armbar but loses it as Borg bursts back to his feet. Borg isn't upright for long before Johnson trips him back to the mat, and the champion rides out the last 20 seconds inside control, hunting for an arm. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 108. Johnson. Brian Knapp scores the round 109. Johnson. Chris Nelson scores the round 108. Johnson. Round 5. Borg tries once more to grab a guillotine as he's taken down in the first 20 seconds of the round, but Johnson's head pops loose even before the flyweights hit the canvas. Johnson hits Borg with a hard, short elbow as the challenger is seated up against the fence. Borg grabs hold of a leg and uses it to get back to his feet, but again, he's only up for a matter of seconds before Johnson drives him down to the mat. 3 minutes left now, Johnson working from side control on Borg's right side, now passing to full mount. Borg nearly escapes, flipping Johnson over the top, but Johnson spins to take his seated challenger's back. Johnson can't establish hooks, so he stands with Borg and holds him with a rear waist lock. Johnson lifts Borg into the air for a suplex, releases him in midair and transitions straight into an armbar. Borg grimaces as Johnson wrenches the arm, looking for the finish. It takes a few seconds, but Johnson eventually cranks the arm hard enough to coax a tap. With a remarkable fifth-round submission, the UFC's first and only flyweight champion, Demetrious Johnson, has broken the organization's consecutive title defense record with his 11th defense. The official result: Demetrious Johnson def. Ray Borg via submission armbar R5 315. The referee for tonight's main event is Herb Dean, with judges Derek Cleary, Chris Lee and Marcos Rosales scoring at cage side. Lee slaps the face of Ferguson with a left high kick, then backs up as El Kukai returns fire with a low kick. Lee connects with a right hand now, but when he goes to throw it again, Ferguson kicks his plant leg out from under him. Ferguson picks off Lee with a short left hook counter when the Motown phenom tries to come over the top with a right hand. Lee scores a flash knockdown with a right straight on the jaw, but when Ferguson gets up and Lee chases after him, Ferguson scores a knockdown of his own with a shot to the chin. Lee springs back to his feet, and now the frantic pace slows after both men taste heavy shots. Lee hits a bodylock takedown but lands in Ferguson's guard and immediately has to defend against a triangle attempt. Ferguson switches to an omoplata, but Lee steps over the top and winds up inside control, driving knees into Ferguson's ribs. Ferguson reclaims guard with 90 seconds left, but Lee shuts the legs and moves to north-south position. Back to side control goes Lee, now to full mount with 30 seconds left. Lee postures up to unload with punches and elbows, but Ferguson uses his long legs to tangle up the top man. Lee gets in a few more punches before the horn, then an extremely late punch well after referee Dean gets between the fighters. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109 Lee. Brian Knapp scores the round 109 Lee. Chris Nelson scores the round 109 Lee. Round 2 Ferguson comes over the top with the right hand, then to the body of Lee with a right high kick. El Kukai touches the body of Lee with a push kick, drawing a shrug from Lee as he steps back to the center of the cage. Ferguson lands a stiff jab, then counters a Lee body kick with another. Lee changes levels, but Ferguson sprawls all over the shot, and the lightweights scramble back to their feet. Ferguson catches Lee with an uppercut, now begins sticking his jab in Lee's face, keeping the shorter man on the end of his long arms. As Lee steps into the pocket, Ferguson steps forward to meet him with a slashing elbow. Lee comes through with a straight right hand. Ferguson eats it but blocks Lee's follow-up left high kick. Lee looks for a late takedown but Ferguson defends with the whizzer. Lee lands a body kick and Ferguson a leg kick just before time expires. Sherdog scores. Tristan Critchfield scores the round 109 Ferguson. Brian Knapp scores the round 109 Ferguson. Chris Nelson scores the round 109 Ferguson. Round 3 Lee shoots early, lifts and slams Ferguson to the canvas with a powerful double leg. Ferguson uses butterfly guard to create space as the lightweights grapple at the base of the fence, and after 30 seconds or so, he kicks Lee away and jumps to his feet. Ferguson is stalking a tired-looking Lee around the outside, blowing him kisses and calling for the Detroit native to engage. Lee responds with another takedown midway through the round, this time nearer to the center of the cage. Ferguson throws up an armbar from the bottom, but Lee steps over the top to relieve the pressure on his right arm. Now with Lee in his guard, Ferguson hunts for a triangle while driving elbows into Lee's head. Ferguson throws up the triangle, this time catching Lee, who has nowhere to go once he's trapped. Lee resists for a few seconds but is forced to tap out just before he collapses. Tony Ferguson scores a third-round triangle choke submission to become the new UFC interim lightweight champion. The official result: Tony Ferguson def. Kevin Lee via submission triangle choke. R3 402, first name, nickname, last name, first name, nickname, last name, name, title.